This week, my flight gets diverted to a remote airfield in Colorado, I get stuck in Aspen after missing my connecting flight, and I take a flight on America's most expensive airline in their cheapest seat. Welcome to Dallas Love Field Airport here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm about to take a flight today on an airline that I think might just be the most expensive airline in the whole of the United States. But first things first, I had to take a ride to the terminal, but no shuttle bus was going to the terminal that I needed. Hi, good morning, Michael. Hello. Yes, hi, how are you? I'm good, how are you? Thank you very much. Now, when you fly on an airline that charges $1,000 a ticket, you don't get to fly from the main terminal with all the other passengers. You get to fly from your own private terminal, which is why we're here at the executive terminal. The airline I'm on today is called Airlines, and once you arrive into the executive terminal, you're welcomed and taken straight to a private lounge while they go off and check you in. It's a lot like flying on a private jet.
There's a private lounge here. There's beverages, snacks. Make yourself comfortable anywhere you like. I'll come back again and grab your ID to check you in, okay?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. The lounge here in Dallas is pretty comfy. There's comfy seats and a good range of food and drink. There's even gourmet snacks available for your furry friends too if you take them on the flight with you as well. I just grabbed a coffee though while I waited for my flight. But I wasn't hanging around for too long because pretty soon they called us to board the plane and I was heading out to the aircraft that would take me across to Aspen, Colorado. Or at least so I thought. My ride today was this stunning Embraer 135. It was owned by the oil company ConocoPhillips until a couple of years ago when Aero bought her and have been flying her ever since. Hi, good morning. I'm good. How are you? Where do we sit?
Are you Noel?
I am, yes. Or
Noel, yes, to be.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Or not to be. Once you're on board, you're greeted by this wonderful 1-1 configured cabin with no overhead bins, meaning there's plenty of space. It really does feel like a private jet once you're on board. You get these little cards at every seat welcoming you on board, along with a carton of water, which I thought was a really nice touch. But pretty soon the doors were closed, the engines fired up, and we started our taxi to head out to the runway at Love Field. How cool is this? This aircraft, by the way, was owned by an oil company as a private jet before Aero picked her up last year, I think. And now they fly her on routes between Dallas and Cabo in Mexico and Aspen, Colorado, which is where we are heading theoretically today. That is, of course, if the weather holds out. They have said there's a chance we might end up having to divert to a place called Rifle, which is about an hour's drive away, and then busing us across to Aspen. Fingers crossed, we'll see when we get there. But this is really nice. It's in a very comfortable configuration. They've got just 16 seats on board this plane, by the way. It normally seats at least 32, so we're less than half, and there's only 3 of us on board today, so it's going to be quite a nice, comfortable flight, hopefully. We've got an absolute ton of leg room here. All the seats are in a 1-1 configuration. We've got a little table that comes out here. And it's just really comfortable, feels really high quality. The wall here, by the way, it's like a soft sort of fabric material on the wall. It feels very posh, very exclusive. Anyway, we've got about a 2-hour run, I think, across to Colorado, depending on where we end up. Aero were founded a few years ago and operate flights from Van Nuys near LA and Love Field in Dallas to Aspen and Cabo in Mexico. They operate on a semi-private jet basis, much like JSX, who I've covered on the channel before. But they're also a lot more expensive. You see, tickets start at $1,000 and only go up in price from there. The main difference between the tickets is the flexibility. At the entry fare of $1,000, it's completely non-changeable and non-refundable, something that you'd often get if you were flying commercial first class and paying a lot less money. Not long after takeoff, the flight attendant came round with a hot towel and my post-takeoff drink. I'd gone for a glass of champagne, seeing as though I was paying quite so much money for this flight. I thought I might as well splash out for my breakfast. The The menu was brought round just after takeoff too, with the menu options which were pretty good. There's even a selection of treats for your doggo too. Aero offer a full meal service on each flight as well, although for breakfast time flights you get a stripped down version of the menu. Today's options were a selection of pastries, a sticky bun or a salmon bagel. And I've gone for a salmon bagel. It's from a bakery. They've got a partnership with a bakery in Dallas called Saddell's Bakery. And I've gone for the, if I can take it without it falling to pieces, I've gone for the salmon bagel, which looks very nice indeed. It's a good bagel.
It's time for the Noel Phillips Lou Review.
And welcome to the Aero Lou Review. This is very swanky, isn't it? This is right at the back of the Embraer 135. We've got this gorgeous bathroom here. Lovely mood lighting, a mirror there, and this touch here that goes right the way up to the bathroom as well. And then we've got the loo down there, baby changing table there, and yeah, very smart bathroom. I have to say I'm really enjoying my flight on Aero so far. They've been really nice. It does cost a bit. It is pretty pricey, I do have to say that, but you have to think about it. At the end of the day, this is literally a private jet experience. This isn't an airline, this is effectively a private jet. I mean, especially today with there only being 3 of us on it. But even when it's full, on a full flight, the service that I've had on this has been just incredible. It's been really nice.
That was the Noel Phillips Lou Review.
And at the end of the day, the service that you get with Aero has to be where the value for money is, if you can call it that. Aside from the great onboard experience, the entire process of taking this flight was like no other commercial flight that I've ever taken before. And one thing I think is really cool about Aero is they do make it feel really personal and private. From the minute I booked this flight, I was reached out to by my concierge for the flight. You get a dedicated concierge before you travel who arranges everything from airport transfers to anything you might need on board the plane or anything like that. It's really cool. And how many other planes would you go on where the captain comes halfway through the flight and meets everybody and talks to you first, like on a personal basis, to let you know the progress of the flight and everything before we land? That's pretty cool. So the thing we really need to talk about with Aero is the cost of flying with them. The cheapest fare that they offer, well, it starts at $1,000 a grand to fly on this, and that's the cheapest. With that, you don't get any flexibility in terms of changing your flight dates or anything like that. It's a fixed fare. That's it, $1,000 is your price. They go right the way up to like $1,500 to $2,000 depending on just how much flexibility you need. I am cheap. I am from the north of England. I went for the $1,000 ticket. It's still an insanely expensive ticket. But honestly, I think the service that you get on this flight is pretty decent. And if you think about it, you could spend $1,000 easily for a domestic first class flight with United or American Airlines, and you'd still end up having to go through the entire airport terminal. Your food selection isn't going to be as nice as what we've had on here. The service isn't going to be up there, and that's really what you're paying for with this, I think. This is the cheapest seat on America's most expensive airline. I still think it's pretty reasonable value for money. And that's the thing, you see, the sorts of people who are taking this flight aren't looking for the cheapest way to get from A to B. They're looking for the most convenient, hassle-free way to get from A to B. Now sure, the seat might not be any more comfortable than a first-class seat on United, for instance, but the seat isn't everything. You see, people want the convenience of being able to jump out of a car and straight onto a plane, maybe stopping briefly in a lounge for coffee along the way. They don't want the hassle of TSA checkpoints. They value having someone in touch with them from the moment they book to make the entire travel process seem completely seamless. And that's what they're paying the money for, and that's where Aero seem to have the entire travel thing sorted. The question is though, are people willing to pay for all that? You see, if we base it on the day that I flew with them, the answer is probably no. You see, just 3 people flew to Colorado on this flight, meaning they paid a grand total of around $3,000. Now, I'm no airline finance man, but I imagine this 2-hour flight on an Embraer 135 costs a lot more to the airline than $3,000. Alright, then we have started our descent. It does look like we are going to be diverting to Rifle, Colorado instead of Aspen, because the winds in Aspen are gusting to 37 knots, the opposite direction to the runway for when they take off. Landing's not going to be an issue, but Aspen, you have to land and take off from the same direction. There's a massive mountain at the bottom end of the runway, basically, and it means that they'd be taking off with a 40-knot tailwind almost to go back to Dallas, and obviously they can't really do that. So we're landing in a place called Rifle, and they're going to put us on a bus, apparently, which is about a 45-minute ride across to Aspen from Rifle Airport. So we'll see what that's like. I do have a connection down in Aspen in a couple of hours' time after we land, so fingers crossed we make it in time. But obviously, if we're not getting out of Aspen, then potentially that flight isn't going to either, so it might not even be something we have to worry about. But hey, we'll see when we get down there. But for now, we've started our descent into Colorado. And so we've made it to the tiny airport of Rifle, Colorado. My only questions now were, how on earth were we going to get to Aspen, and would I have any chance of making my connecting flight onto Denver? Only time would tell.
Yes, sir. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
You can go straight down on board. He's going to bring the bags and load them, so you're good to go right in.
Thanks very much. Have a good day. Thank you. Now, as I mentioned earlier, convenience is a major bonus of flying with Aero, and even with the diversion, well, I was pretty impressed. They'd sent a limo bus right up to the plane's steps to take us across to Aspen. Within minutes of getting off the plane, we were on the road. The drive across to Aspen took about an hour, but it was a really scenic route. I have to say I was pretty impressed with how Aero dealt with this whole situation, even with the diversion to Rifle. I've put a link in the description to get some money off a flight with Aero too, so if you want to check them out, you'll get $250 off a flight, making it a little bit more reasonably priced. But fairly soon we were arriving into Aspen Airport, and it was finally time to find out if I was actually going to be going anywhere. Right, now welcome to Aspen Airport in Colorado, about an hour and a half after we should have landed here, thanks to this wind, which has actually calmed down a little bit now, I think, but they still obviously diverted us into Rifle on the way in. A beautiful part of the world, actually. I've got to head across now to the main terminal here, because obviously this is, once again, the FBO, the private terminal here at Aspen. I need to head across to the main terminal to figure out what's going on with my flight out of here, because I've just had an email from United that said because of the weather, United have cancelled all flights into Aspen today as well. Who knows what's going to happen? So I'm going to head into the terminal and we'll figure out what's going on. So I headed to the terminal to discover my fate.
Stand by. 3 o'clock
I need that
4 o'clock.
because I only have.
From here, or?
I need.
Okay.
So are you going to play the standby game?
Let's play standby game. Yeah, it's only a couple of hours, and then if I miss that flight, then I'm going to be stuck here overnight anyway, aren't I? So.
You're on the standby list for the 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Just delayed a little bit.
Perfect. So you know, if I don't get on a standby for this one, if I don't get that flight.
There is another flight at 4 o'clock, so they
Okay.
might roll you to that one if you don't
Okay.
get on that
If
one.
there's still time to connect onto there, but okay. Well, I'll go and wait for this one then, and we'll see. Just play it by you. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Cheers. All right. So update then. I've been moved on to a standby flight that leaves at 3 that's currently delayed until 4. If I don't get on that one, there is another standby flight at 4 that's currently delayed until 5, but the flight out of Denver leaves at 6 for my end destination. So who knows? We're going to play the standby game though now, so I'm going to head back inside, try and get a bite to eat, and we'll figure out where this day takes us. It may not take us very far, it may just take us into Aspen for a hotel for the night, but we'll see in a bit. And so it was time to play the waiting game, but eventually the time came for my flight, and after everyone else got on, I heard my name called and I was issued a boarding pass for the flight to Denver.
Okay, no problem.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Noel?
Awesome, thank you very much.
Yes, yeah, you have a
awesome.
good flight.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, thanks for all your help. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Flight is 540.
Yes, made it. Got me standby seat. And it's a window as well.
Thank you.
I made it to Denver, albeit 4 hours later than I should have been here, but thankfully they've managed to move my connecting flight onto a later one as well. So I'm actually at least going to hopefully, fingers crossed, get to where I need to go today. And the trip isn't over just yet. I really enjoyed my ride with Airlines today. They were pretty cool. I really hope they can actually get a little bit more custom on that route though. 3 people doesn't seem like a sustainable sort of route, does it? But the service was really, really excellent. Cannot fault them on that at all. They got us to Aspen not much later than we should have been there in the first place. So yeah, thank you for a great flight today. I'm off now. I've got another flight to catch somewhere else awesome. But in the meantime, as always, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Be kind to one another, guys. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.